Hey everyone, welcome back to this week's edition of the Maconi Setup Shop A-Fix Tutorials. This week we are looking at the Richmond Raceway, so strap in and let's get to it. This is a very interesting trip here to Richmond, at least for me, with this new tire update, the updates that they did to try to band-aid the tire flexing for heat. I find that this drives a lot different than the last time that we were here, and I was under the assumption that we were going to be shifting throughout the majority of this race, and I feel like I might be wrong, and I'll explain why. The majority of these laps that you're seeing right here are done in fifth gear. My lap 9, I did run a fourth gear, and you'll see then I'm still not very comfortable with it. Even with all the laps that I've been doing today to do this video, it's still very, very sketchy. The way the gearing is, the amount of torque that's going to the rear end, the way I'm braking, I don't know what it is, but I cannot get the car slowed down enough or keep it under control, which is why I decided to do this in fifth gear and show you that it is possible to still be fast by doing this. I do think some of the really fast guys can make fourth gear work, but it's really destroying the rear tires. I did a run earlier where I was still trying to get comfortable with the fourth gear, and I was just spinning my rear tires, and my wear was pretty bad. So I'm really on the fence about it. Uh, so for the most part, all of this is done in fifth gear, and we'll get into the technique here. As we've touched on before, this yellow line is your best friend. The closer you are to it, the more grip you're going to have. 3 and 4, you really want to make an effort to wrap it. 1 and 2, there's a couple different ways to get through. Okay, 1 and 2, you can run a little bit of a diamond, or you can also try to wrap it. The biggest thing is once you get on the line, you really have to be patient. You don't want to get into the throttle too early, because once you start to push up, you have to wait forever. And the way that the corner off of 2 is, where you're going to a flat straightaway, you lose a lot of time and momentum. All right, and then you find that you got to crank a bunch of wheel into it. And by cranking wheel into it, you run the risk of getting really loose on exit. Okay, so patience is a huge thing around here. Um, I find that arcing 1 and 2 is more helpful with this tire. Again, it could just be me. I know when I run the truck, I much prefer to take a shallower entry to 1, get it on the yellow line as soon as possible, and just wrap it. That's how I've always preferred to get around here. But I found with this, again, I don't know if it's the tire, the track, or the weather, or whatever, I'm really struggling to do that. So I find that I'm arcing 1 and 2 a lot more to keep my roll speed up in the center and to keep it down on that line. Going into 3, there's a black sign, and you'll see it when we get into the in-car. About 3/4 of the way down the backstretch. That's a great spot to use to lift. Again, I don't use reference points very often, but for you guys, I lift at that spot almost every time. And as the run goes on, I gauge how much I'm falling off and how tight I am and back it up. So right here, that's a great spot to lift to get into 3. And you almost want to feel like you're floating it into the corner. At least that's how I try to describe it. Once you get on that line, you are golden. Going into 1, as you can see on the wall there, those red boxes, there's a white line inside the white boxes going down the straightaway. When I get to that second last one, I notice that's a really common spot that I'm lifting. So again, for you guys that like those visuals, that's a great spot to use for when you're trying to lift to go into turn 1. And I'll pause it here so you can see which one I'm talking about. Right here where my mouse is, this is the one I'm referencing. I find that this is a very common spot for me. Again, for me, when the track builds rubber, once I see the rubber in my windshield, that's usually where I like to lift, and it just so happens to line up with this as well. So that's a very good spot for you guys that like the visuals. Okay. Um, I just want to make note, if you guys do go back and watch these laps, I think lap 8 right here will be the best one to replay, even though I'll be talking over it, because this was in 5th gear coming off of 4. I kind of messed my laps up. I was supposed to do 4th gear here and then run 5th the last couple, but we'll get through it. Okay, so here's we are in the in-car. Again, right around that second to last white line in the red box. Lifting for the corner. Nice and smooth, letting the car roll, letting the car do as much work as we can. Okay, here in 3, right on that line, you wrap it. And I will point out, the next time we come through 3, I'm going to pause it real quick and point it out. The way the yellow line separates from the racetrack to pit road is a great spot to wait to get on the throttle. That's how you know you're going to save your tires. As you can see, that turn one was really poor, not comfortable with fourth gear at all. Just want to go back real quick. I said I was going to pause it. This line right here, you can see as the yellow line separates the pit road, if you were to build some throttle, like it's okay to try to build some throttle to get a run off the corner, but you really want to wait as long as possible. And if you can get past this point of the racetrack to get full throttle, you're going to find that you're going to be saving your rear tires a lot more. Okay, that's a really big tip for here. When it comes to letting the car roll through the center, it's very important to be patient in 1 and 2. It's even more important to be patient in 3 and 4 because the way this corner swings out, it's very easy to get in the gas too hard and spin the rear tires and get really loose off of 4. It's a very common spot. Okay, guys, just a couple things to go over real quick. Again, I feel I would need a lot more time to get comfortable with downshifting into fourth for turn one. I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of guys doing it. However, I do think fifth gear is a lot more comfortable. It helps the car stay a lot more stable, and you can see that the speed is still there. Okay. Yes, I messed up turn one and I ran a slower lap on my lap 9. I really pushed up in the center and I wasn't able to wrap the yellow line like I really wanted to. But the stability of running fifth gear is there, and as long as you're comfortable, you can still be competitive here. I do think as the run goes on and the times fall off, as long as the tires have heat, if you're comfortable downshifting into fourth, by all means do it. And then you'll run fourth gear all the way until you come back around the start finish line, because then you'll run out of gear and you will need fifth. As always, I hate shifting, so if I can limit it as much as possible, I will. Okay, you will hit the chip down the back straightaway if you hold fourth gear, which is great because about the time you hit the chip is when you want to get off the gas anyway. Okay, guys, that should just about do it for this week's video. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, or something that I may have missed that you want to touch on, please leave a comment down below and I will get back to it throughout the week. If you find that this video is helpful, as always, please consider leaving a like. And if you're not a subscriber, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you can see these videos every Monday when they're posted to the Maconi YouTube page. Okay, guys, best of luck this week, and we'll see you out on the track.